Hi there, it's Carol with Carolbcrafts. Today we'll be making this adorable Easter basket. It's project number 3 in my Fabel Friends Club Kit. Check out my website www.carolbcrafts.com to see what current club kits I'm offering. Now if you didn't purchase the club kit, don't worry, I'll give the supplies and dimensions as we go along so that you can make an adorable Easter basket as well. The Fabel Friends Club Kit centers around the Fabel Friends stamps. It has adorable bunny, ducks, and squirrel, along with the Easter greeting, spring greeting, and a darling baby greeting. Now to make this project, in addition to the Fabel Friends stamps, you will need to have the layering circles framelits dies. You'll want to have the gorgeous grape ink that matches so well with this paper. The cardstock that you'll need to cut will be the Highland Heather. This is 5/8 of an inch wide and 8.5 inches long. So you could just take a sheet of paper and just cut 5/8 of an inch off of the end. And that will give you 5/8 by 8.5. Now this small piece of gorgeous grape 2x2 is actually included in your kit. So you won't need to cut that. You also need a piece of 2x2 inch Whisper White. Some other things from your kit that you won't need to cut will be your Highland Heather piece of cardstock that's embossed with the basket weave embossing folder. And I will show you at the end of the video. If you want to make more, I'll show you how to do this. Or if you didn't take the class and you need to know, you can fast forward to the back of the video and learn how to do this. A couple other things you need are these two little darling gorgeous grape butterflies, and they come from the Gala butterfly Gala punch that we offer right now, and it's the smaller of the two butterflies. You'll need a 6x6 inch piece of the Highland Heather gingham checked DSP, but it comes in the 6x6 sheets, so you don't need to really do anything to that. For your double ribbon, you'll need 16 inches of the sheer 1/8 inch sheer Whisper White ribbon. But if you just wanted to do a single ribbon, you wouldn't need quite that much. And then lastly, this darling little Highland Heather flower sequin from the Gingham Gala sequins. Now tools that you'll need, let me clear these out of the way. The tools that you'll need are, you'll need a stapler, preferably one of the smaller staplers. You will need a piercing tool helps, some scissors. It'll help to have a ruler. You'll need a scoring tool and your Big Shot, and also you can stamp this with a block, but I'm going to use a Stamparatus because I like to be able to get a nice rich image. And then lastly, your adhesives. You'll need glue dots, glue, and that's optional, and then also your snail adhesive is optional as well. So we'll clear all this away and get started. I always like to start with our stamping, and we have very little stamping to do. We just need our 2x2 inch Whisper White, and we're going to use the smallest stitched circle in the stitched framelits dies. And I think I forgot to tell you that you will need these, but you should have them on hand if you're a club member. Okay, so we're going to use the smallest stitched circle die, and we will be using, with our gorgeous grape later, we're going to use the second smallest scallop die. So we'll go ahead and get that while we're out. Okay, so this is the smallest scallop die, and this is the second smallest, and that's what we'll be using for our gorgeous grape. So we'll set this aside for later. Right now, we know that we're going to die cut this. So we're just going to stamp in Gorgeous Grape Easter Greetings. That's the stamp right here. We're just going to put it in the center as much as possible, and then we'll be able to die cut it later. And that's all the stamping that we'll do. We'll go ahead and do that die cutting. We'll line our Easter greetings up and center it. I'm going to tape it in place, and then we're also going to cut our second smallest scalloped circle out of our gorgeous grape. So we have those, and we'll come back to these in a little bit. So we have our scoring tool, and you can see there's already a line scored here. So that's 1 3/4 from the side, and just kind of reinforce that. So that's 1 3/4. Now we're going to turn it one turn and do 1 3/4 again. And I'm using my larger ball on my scoring tool. Turn it one more time, 1 3/4. And we're just basically going all the way around, 1 3/4. 1 3/4 again. Now you'll see that you have 3 squares and then 3 rectangles. Where you have the 3 rectangles, the rectangle on the edge you're going to cut from the end outside to this first score line right here, the one that you scored, and do the same on this side. Turn it around from the end to along your score line to the center, that one first cross score line, and now you are ready to make your basket. So these are going to go up this way. Just going to fold all your folds like so, and this is how your basket's going to be made. So let me move my scoring tool. I probably should have done that. We will need it again here shortly, but for right now we do not. So that's how I'll show you how I have it. So these two we cut here, we cut here, and these two go up. This goes up, and this goes up, and then these go to the side like that, and that makes our basket. Now the one thing that we want to do, we're going to staple that in place. The one thing we want to do is we want to make sure that this gap is going to be covered completely by our basket handle. And so if it's sticking out like that where there's a gap, then you need to bring it in closer. So your V is going to be somewhat like this, and then what you're going to do is just going to make sure that before you staple those, that your V is going to be completely covered up by this. Hold that in place firmly. Get your stapler and then staple. You can staple once or twice. I'm going to staple twice. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. These two side panels are go up. There'll be a little V there. Whoops. Make sure your V is going to be covered. Hold it tightly. Bring in your stapler and staple. Okay, that's going to hold your basket in place. So now we're going to get the next step is optional. We're going to get our scoring tool out again. This is kind of why I left it out, but we can keep bringing it in and out. Now we're going to use our small ball end, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch. We'll put our 5/8 by 8.5 here. We're going to score at 1/4 inch. I'm sorry. We're going to score at 1/4 inch, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch. So that's 1/4 and 1/2. Now we're going to flip it over to the other side. We're going to score at 1/8. Hold it in place firmly so it doesn't slide. and we're going to score it 3/8. And basically all that does is put a little texture, makes it more like a basket type of piece instead of just a flat piece of cardstock. So we'll bring in our little basket again, and pay attention to where your staples are, because you don't want to staple over them. You're going to put your basket handle, you can kind of put a little curve in it to kind of get it started. You're going to put your basket handle down here, not past the V part here, but you want it straight. So that looks good. I've actually found that, and this might be strange, I've actually found it's better to go ahead and put a glue dot here and put this in place, because this sometimes it's hard to get your handle straight across, and so you don't want a crooked handle. So the glue dots kind of help to hold it in place till you can make sure that your handle's straight this way and it's not all wonky. And when you're happy with your handle, you're going to come in with your staple and you're going to make kind of like a V with your, it's going to be that way, and then you're going to come in and staple like a V. So you see how my staples, one's going that way, one's going that way, and it makes like a little V. I'll do the same thing on the other side. I can see my handle must have turned a little bit because it's now wonky looking. That's okay, not that bad. It's just a little bit wonky, so you want to make sure that you keep it straight. And you can always remove those if you need to, because they'll be covered up. So I'm going to come in and do my that way and then this way. And I must have hit some underneath because it's stuck. Okay, so I'll have to try to avoid those. It might not be easy to do. Okay, there we go. So it's not quite a V. I'll make that the front so it'll have lots of coverage with this. And then the back I'll cover with my butterflies. So now that we have our basket, we are ready to do our insert. And we'll need our scoring tool again. So your scoring tool, you'll see that there's a 5-inch. You're going to want to put your paper this way. Let me see, I'll get my directions. I'm going to do this right. It looks like you're going to start with the large checks facing up and find your 5-inch. You're going to follow that 5-inch down so that you can line your corners, these two corners, up with your 5-inch line. So that's my 5-inch up here. That's my 5-inch down here. I'll hold that in place. Now I'm going to score at 6 gently, and you probably should use your larger ball. And paper is not as thick as cardstock, so do it gently, don't press too hard. And then we're going to do it at 4. So we have 4 and 6. Okay, so once we have that done, we're going to flip it over to the other side. We're going to do the whole 5 thing again, and you'll see that your score lines are going up and down. Now we are going to score, let me get my notes, 7 3/4. So 7 3/4, again just using that larger ball, and then 2 1/4. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 score lines here, 2 score lines here. Now we're going to do the center. You'll need your ruler for this. Again, we're going to put it in our 5 mark here, and 6 1/4. Put your ruler here so that you can score between these 2 score lines at 6 1/4. The 2 center score lines that are going this way, you're going to score at 6 1/4, and then you're going to come over here to 3 3/4. Your ruler flat up against the top so that you can, and then you'll score in the center there at 6 3 3/4. I think my paper must have moved. Let me double check this. Yeah, I think it did. Glad I caught that. It wasn't quite looking right. Alright, so now I'll find my 3 3/4, score between those 2 lines. Now if you score all the way, that's okay. All it means is that you'll have some lines here on the sides, which will most likely be covered up by your grass anyway. So that's all of our scoring. Now here on these ends are flaps, so you're going to go ahead and bend those back on the sides. That'll help you to keep track of where you're at. So the 2 that have the 2 corners that have the scoring there, go ahead and fold them back with the small checks facing you. And then you're going to see 2 other corners here. And you'll also see this, there's those 2 lines that you scored. You're going to use this line to measure. And you're going to get a pencil. Find that line and measure 1 inch from that line. Then on the other side, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to find that line. There's these lines right here. You're going to find that line and you're going to measure 1 inch from that line. These are going to be our cutting lines. The opposite corner, you're going to find that line. I'm putting it here where it ends and measuring 1 inch from that line, and then same thing on this side. Here's my line right here, and here is 1 inch. So now I'm going to take my scissors, and that 1 inch line, I'm going to cut from that 1 inch line all the way to, you see where my scoring lines are? I'm going to cut from here to the corner right here, where that middle rectangle, where the corner of that middle rectangle, there's like a little rectangle here in the center. I'm cutting from my 1 inch mark to that corner. Now I'm going to cut from this 1 inch mark to that corner. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to cut from this 1 inch mark to, here's my rectangle, from my 1 inch mark to this corner of the rectangle. And then from this 1 inch mark to this corner of the rectangle. Okay, so now I'm going to fold this forward and this forward and this forward and this forward. I'm making my little inside. I'm going to turn it over. This little like triangle that we just made, I'm going to fold along those score lines. So this is what I have now, where I cut, and there's that score line. I folded it back, and I'm just going to put a little snail or glue, whichever you prefer, just enough to kind of hold that back. You could also use glue dots if you wanted. but I think it's easier to just use a little snail. That just kind of holds it back and out of the way. So basically what's going to happen now is we're going to put it in our basket. These sides go behind here, like that. And then these sides go behind here, like that. And so when we put that in our basket, and you can kind of fold these a little bit. You don't want to put a crease in them, but you can definitely fold them so that they will cooperate when you go to put it in your basket. Oh, you can also put some snail on these sides. I forgot to hold these down, these flaps down as well. That will help if those flaps are being held down. Now this is going to go inside like that. Remember, these flaps go behind, just like this, and then you're just going to kind of push it down in place. And it should go, unless it catches on the sides. If it's not going down, it might be catching on your sides. Okay, so now we have the inside, and it should be looking just like this. Just make sure you push it down good. Now we're going to take this and just gently fold it over. This is if it was a piece of cloth, like a tablecloth or a little cloth insert for your basket. And that should be what you're looking at. Now I'm going to take some glue dots, because I want that to stay in place. I'm going to take some glue dots. I'm going to put on the basket itself down there, just sticking them. I'm picking them up. Try to keep it as flat as possible. Put it against the basket itself. I put 3 on this side, and then I'll put 3 on the other side. This will hold it in place so that it doesn't come up and out. Whoops. Okay, and that'll hold the sides. Now for our other sides, we can put some glue dots on the inside right here. But you don't want to put the glue dots on the DSP. You actually want to put the glue dots on the Highland Heather part of the inside so that it sticks to the basket. If you put it on the paper, it's just going to stick to the paper, and it's not really going to do anything to make it stay in place. Okay, that's looking good. Now we're going to do this side. And again, I'm going to put it on the Highland Heather. Kind of pinching it down when I when I pull it away. Just keep it flat. Okay, so now I'll press that one in place, and we have our little insert. Now you can decide which side needs more coverage. This side I actually removed those staples that I didn't like because my handle was wonky, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on with glue. And then I guess I'm not sure how I put that on. Let me check. It looks like I used glue dots. Oh yeah, I put lots of glue dots on there. Mostly in the center right here where it's going to land on the handle. And so I have it right side up, and I'm just going to really bombard it here with some glue dots. Maybe half a dozen or so. along the center, walking down towards the bottom. Oh gosh, I have a lot of glue dots. You can see there's a lot of glue dots there. All right, so that's going to go over my messy staples, and in the center there. And you don't want it too high because you do want your basket to have a bow, and you don't want it to be in the way of your Easter greetings. Now on the other side, we're going to take our little butterflies and our Highland Heather sequin. One butterfly we're going to put over these staples like this. That's why I had you put them close together in like a V. If your staples are out of control and they're going to show and you don't want them to, you could put a little circle behind this. If you have a small circle punch, you could just put a circle of cardstock behind it to cover up those staples if you didn't want them showing. Now this one, I'm going to bend just a little on the sides here, not in the middle but on the sides. I'm just bending the wings up a little bit. I'm going to put this on with a couple of glue dots, and I'm twisting it off so it doesn't tear. That's going to go right on top of this one. I'm going to press down firmly and puff up my wings a little, just a little, so it's not so flat. All right, now I'll get my piercing tool, pick up that little flower, and that just adds a little extra to the butterfly there. But you could put a pearl or something else if you didn't have the sequins. So all we have left to do is our bow. So we'll get our 16 inches of 1/8 inch Whisper White sheer ribbon. So we're going to do a double bow. You're going to have your fingers together like this, like you're doing a peace sign, and this thumb is going to hold your ribbon. You have about 2.5 inches of ribbon there. You're going to go around once, and then again, but not all the way around. Go through this hole that you just made. You can close these fingers to hold it in place. So you went behind. Now you're going to go over and over this piece that you just brought through, and then back through it. And that might be a little confusing, but you can always do a single bow if you don't want to do this. So once you do that, you just pull it tight as possible and you'll have your double bow. And like I said, you could do a single bow if this is too hard for you. It's just a little extra that I added. I don't normally do a double bow, but it's not that hard. It just takes practice. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on. Trying to get it to behave here and hang down. All right, I think I have it trained. I'm going to get my glue dots wherever they got off to. I've been using them quite a bit, so I think I'll put a couple of glue dots here. Just push it down and pinch it off, and then just above on here you can attach it with your glue dots. And my bow needs to be trained, but it also needs to be trimmed. So let me get my scissors. I'm just going to cut straight up. You can decide how long you want your your tails to be. That looks good. Okay, so we have our, let me see you can also put a glue dot here if you want to hold that down, which I think I will do that. Almost done. I think I will just put a glue dot there to hold that down in place because it's sticking up, but you don't have to. Okay, there we go. These are sticking out, which is fine, or you can have them glued together with a glue dot, stuck down with a glue dot. It's up to you, whichever you prefer. So this was project number 3 in my Fable Friends Club Kit. Check out my website, www.carolbcrafts.com, to see what current club kits I'm offering. Okay, so I promised you I would show you how to make the basket part. So I have a piece of Highland Heather that is 5.5 by 6. I'm going to get my scoring tool, and with my 5.5 across the top, I'm going to score it at 1 3/4. So we're going to use our basket weave and folder, and you can see there's a smaller part and a thicker, wider part. We're going to take and fold on our fold line just gently. We're not going to try to crease it. And we're going to put it so that it stands straight up like this. So basically it's folded over like that. And we're going to close it so that it's on that fold really good. We'll get our big shot. Now this is a dynamic folder, so it's thicker. So you don't need to have 2 plates. All you need is your base plate, platform. Then you'll put your folder there. Then you just need 1 top plate to hold that in place, and then you're going to run it through just like that. Now you're going to, so we have to do it this way because this is not a 6 by 6 folder. So now we're going to do the opposite. So all I did was I opened it up, I slid it over. Now I'm going to do this side. So I've just kind of got that, you know, the opposite side. And now I'm going to run it through just like this. And since I have that fold already in, that's where we're going to score it. We're going to score it at 1 3/4. So if it already has that score in it, that's not going to be a problem because I'm going to score it at 1 3/4 anyway. So that line will disappear when we go to make our basket. So that is how I did the piece that I included in your club kit. Thanks for watching.